Hello, my beautiful souls. Welcome to the intuitive card reading for the week of November 17th through 23rd. You guys know what to do. Please like this video. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Please share this video with anybody that needs to hear the energies and the influences of the week. What else? Comments down below. I would really appreciate comments. I love the interaction that I get with you guys. Love hearing how things resonate with you. Love hearing, maybe if it doesn't, you're fine to tell me. I'm totally okay with that. Maybe you need clarity around something I said. Everything goes down below in the comments. I just ask that you be kind. Same three cards. Can't speak. Same three decks, shuffled and ready to go. And that's it, guys. Let's just jump right into it. If you see my hands on camera, I have a little bit of redness on my pinky. It's not bleeding anymore, but heads up. Oh, I'm shaking things. Okay, let's jump right into it, guys. What do I need? What do we need? Orphan child in this shadow. Feelings of abandonment that stifle maturation, seeking inappropriate surrogate families. Okay, so, all right. I don't love this energy right off the bat. So basically, orphan child means that maybe we're looking for companionship in all the wrong places. Maybe we are choosing things that maybe are a little bit more toxic to us because we feel alone or we feel abandoned in some way. So basically it's under need, and it's saying we need to kind of, at the very least, be aware of this behavior. I would say cut out the behavior, but I think it's more about like awareness around it, saying like maybe you're doing something out of loneliness, maybe you're doing something out of being abandoned, maybe you're doing something like you're doing something inappropriate because of like some kind of childhood trauma going on here. And so if you're doing anything out of loneliness, and something comes to mind, that's definitely highlighted this week, and we kind of need to be aware of that. And for some of you guys, maybe start to cut it out or shift in a different direction or whatever it actually is. But I definitely do feel like a lot of us are doing that, and it becomes kind of clear this week, basically. I can't think of an example on the spot. The only thing I can kind of like think of is maybe you find yourself like that you're emotionally eating or overeating because you feel abandoned by a partner, or you feel uneasy in a relationship. Or you feel depressed or alone or something like that, and that's coming to the forefront this week. That's the best example I can kind of come up there, but it could be anything. Doesn't have to be overeating or emotional eating. Action needed. We have Lord, take charge with authority. Okay, we like this one for what to actually take action on this week. So this is basically saying like you're in a leadership position, you're in a place of authority, and sometimes people don't know exactly what that means, and to me that means like you're finally at a place that you have enough wisdom to lead others in that pursuit, basically. And people look at you like with authority, like you know what you're talking about, basically, right? So it's saying action needed is like, Spirit is saying like, you know what you're talking about and people are going to recognize it. And if people don't recognize it, I don't think you're being visible enough, or you're not being seen enough, okay? So it's under action needed. So you might have to start talking about this thing that you know that you're an authority on, that you know your stuff about, right? This is also validation if you think you have to go take another class to do something, to be certified, a certification, or go back to school to do something. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with education and wanting to educate yourself, but this tells me whatever this particular thing is, you already have enough to be an authority figure to lead right now, okay, to lead this week. So it's saying that you need to kind of prop yourself up in that way, and let the world know that you're a leader in this particular, industry or avenue or whatever, or topic or whatever. So I love that. So it's basically saying like, let's step up. This could mean like, this could also be like, because it's under action needed, and so kind of it's almost like, taking action immediately. Maybe something happens at work where you volunteer yourself to be, in a more managerial role, and basically Spirit is saying like, you can do it. You have enough experience, you have enough wisdom. All right, issue. We have milk and honey. We haven't had this one in a while. This is bittersweet energy. So it's under issue. So this could be like something bittersweet is happening this week, like I don't know, one door closes, another one opens kind of situation. And so it's under issue. So, it's always, to me, it's always kind of conflicting energy in itself, like the way that it is. It's just kind of like, yeah, something is sweet, but something out, in order to gain something, we have to lose something, right? So that's kind of, you feel that energy, and it's kind of conflicting this week, basically, is all that is saying. But I would always say with this, focus on what you're actually gaining, not what you're losing. Challenge, we have athlete. Okay, so this is dedicating to transcending physical limits, including handicaps. Okay, personal willpower, strength of spirit. So athlete is really like, when we think of like the athlete archetype, we just had the, at the beginning of the month here in New York City, we just had the marathon. It is like the biggest day in New York City, and it is so inspiring. It's such a wonderful, beautiful day here. And though, even though they're not professional athletes, every single person put on their archetype, athlete archetype hat that day. Okay, they were embodying the athlete. Okay, and because they didn't quit, they kept going. They had the willpower to keep going, the mental fortitude to keep going. Nobody quits. People cross the line, the finish line at 8, 9, 10 p.m. at night, but they finish, okay? And so that's what the athlete is all about. And so the challenge here is that we're having issues going forward, and we're having issues with that mental fortitude. We're having issues with that willpower. We're having issues with that discipline about going forward. The only thing I can kind of say here, because it's under challenge, is that it's not coming up here to beat ourselves up. It is saying that it's okay if you have to take a break, or slow down, or you're having an off week. It's trying not to quit. There is something to be said about quitting. It's not like a monolith where that you shouldn't ever quit something. I've quit a lot of things in my life, things that weren't aligned for me, for example. But this is definitely saying like you have some issues, like you're still going forward, but you're just having some issues getting there, and that's okay, and you shouldn't be beating yourself up. I would, for this, try to listen to inspiring content as much as you want, as much as you can this week, and as much as you want. But I think that would, inspirational talks, motivational speakers, motivational music, anything that kind of will help pump you up, because I feel like we do need that added help there and support, which is totally okay. But yeah, just, it's asking us to continue to go forward, even if you have to take a break, even if you go slower, even if you have to help somebody help you, etc. So sending lots of love to you guys, because yeah, it's it obviously means that you guys are going through something tough, right? We're always trying to move forward, but sometimes life puts us 3 steps backwards, and that's okay, just take 4 steps forward, as much as you can. All right, what's changing? Winter, take care of your needs. Okay, so this is basically, it's basically saying like a change of seasons. We are going into winter, which is funny, but basically it says take care of your needs. Usually winter is the time where a lot of animals hibernate. I would say up here in New York City, we definitely do that in the winter. So what's changing is we are finally taking care of our needs. We are focusing on, just self-care mostly. I think it's, this is basically saying like being a little bit more selfish, but selfish in a good way. Not self-serving, which I think is completely different. But yeah, I love this for us. We're concentrating more on ourselves. There's not too much more I could say there. All right, what do we need to focus on here? The here and now, don't we all? So this is about saying focus, on the present, stay where you are. This accompanies the athlete, I think, in the shadow, because we're having a hard time moving forward. So this is basically saying, well, just focus on what you can do right now. Focus on how you can conduct yourself today. What can you do in the present? So this is not necessarily like I mean, it's kind of saying like, don't focus so much on the future. You don't have to plan everything right now. Definitely be as present as possible. Put your priority there. All right, reflect. What do we need to reflect on? We have saboteur in the shadow, self-destructive behavior. Okay, so this is saying that we need to, oh, this is a good one for reflect. We need to look at our self-destructive behaviors, where we sabotage ourselves, where we have held ourselves back in the past, where we hold ourselves back now. So guys, this is definitely shadow work here to be done. So looking at this is going to be important to move forward. But again, this isn't necessarily about moving forward. This is about figuring out today, you know, and looking back, you know, so more like present and past, about maybe how we've held ourselves back, or maybe how other people have held themselves back, or limiting beliefs that held themselves back, and things like that. Responsibilities are stargazers, set your sights higher. Okay, so this is about focusing on your potential. Set your sights higher. Definitely, this is talking about giving yourself more than what you actually deserve. Seeing potential, like I said. Casting a wider net, it could mean. But definitely does feel like more so like you are deserving of so much more. So it's your responsibility to hold your worthiness this week for whatever it is. So this might be like not taking any disrespect. This might be, you know, allowing any disrespect. This is about, you know, your worth in general. So it's your responsibility to hold that and hold space for that, and make sure you're not necessarily doing something kind of out of character, or I don't want to say like beneath you, because that kind of gives like a negative connotation around it, but more so like you're worthy of so much more, and do not take crumbs, you know, do not take like the bare minimum and things like that. So it's your you know, it's like a responsibility to self. All right, money, finances, and career. We have flexible. I mean, this is a decent one for this slot, because it's basically saying like be adaptable, be flexible. I like that it's paired next to the energy I just talked about self-worth with the stargazer. It's cool to be flexible in money, finances, and career, but don't take anything less than what you deserve, you know? So if they're like moving you to another position, but it's not a, you know, a pay raise or something, you got to think about like, is that, you know, is it worth it? Do you think you should be paid more than that? That kind of thing. So, yeah, so this is basically say like be flexible, but you know, hold on to your self-worth as well. All right, surprise. We have artists. Okay, we've had this, I think, in the last two readings, I want to say. I think definitely in the last one. And I think this was actually under change, not sure. So this is just basically your inner artist and inspiration. Self-expression is also artistry. So it's under surprise this time instead of change. So you might be surprised at maybe your artistic talents, the way that you self-express yourself this week. You may be surprised at what inspires you this week. I just talked about maybe like, you know, attending motivational talks, or, you know, inspiring content of some kind that you're watching or whatever. You might be surprised at, you know, how much you like it, or how much you like a particular person, or, you know, something along, you know, connected to that in some way. But also you could just be surprised at like your inner creativity. Like, you know, you could be extra creative this week. Like maybe your friend invites you to like a paint and sip night, you know, one of those nights where you drink wine and paint something, and you're really surprised by your inner artistry, like your creativity. Like everyone in the class is like, wow, that's really good, and you never knew you had it in you, you know, like that kind of thing. So I think something kind of comes out of surprise, you know, creativity, innovation, something inspirational, but also something that could be along the lines of self-expression. So you know, maybe this week you start thinking about like, and you about a tattoo. You've never thought about a tattoo before, but you want to express, you know, yourself in some way, shape, or form by getting a sleeve or something like that, and like it's never crossed your mind before, and you're actually pleasantly surprised that you're actually open to it or something. I like that coming off of the flexible card, right? Off that energy. But yeah, there's something here where, you know, you surprise yourself, and And that's one of the beauties of life, right? Like we're always evolving and changing. And that includes our minds. We're allowed to change our mind or like different things as we mature or evolve, or something happens to us and we, again, just changes your mind. So I love that. All right, friends, we have Star Ancestor, follow the voice of your soul. Okay, so this is like saying, what is your intuition telling you? Who lights up your soul? Who makes you feel alive? That kind of thing. It's under friends. So basically it's saying like those people that light you up, those people that make you feel alive, that give you the biggest belly laugh, those that feel really aligned with your lifestyle or very aligned with who you are as a person. It's not a bad idea to hang out with them this week, or maybe they come out of nowhere and say they're in town and you get to hang out with them, or whatever it actually is. Or you find a community that's like this, that really speaks to your soul. It's just like a very soulful energy coming from friends over here, and that's a really positive thing. There's not too much more I could say about that. Romantic connection, we have happy. Ooh, this is a good one to get here. Guys, our connections, romantic connections are really good this week. There's actually not too much I can say about this one either. This is just saying things are good, things are joyful, things are really happy, and embrace that. And I love it for us, some good romance this week, which is cool. Okay, important. What's important? We have Virgin in the shadow, fear of intimate union. Yeah, but it more so means like being afraid to like be a beginner, or to do something you've never done before, or to it could mean like afraid to like connect with people, which I doesn't necessarily feel like that with this card, with this energy coming off of it. It more so means like about being a beginner. So basically it's under important. So it's saying like it's important to embrace the beginner energy. Like if you haven't done something before, there's it's very valid to be scared of it, or not know what you're doing, or afraid of the unknown in some way, shape, or form. It's okay to be at a beginner level with something, and it's under important. So this can mean like a bunch of things. I know it's not like don't pay attention too much to like the actual word, but it is it's important that you understand like beginner energy is okay. And I actually love this energy with the Lord card up there in the action yid, because it almost just feels like it's kind of like you might be thrown into a leadership position, or you might all signs kind of point to you moving into a leadership position, and you may have never done it before. Okay, and so that could definitely be connected to this for sure. It's okay, and it's okay if you've never done it before. Okay, so it's important to understand that. The best thing is, and actually with the flexible energy too, right? It's kind of saying like, be flexible, be open, be curious, right? Ask questions, do the best you can and all that stuff. So I love that we have this reminder here. That's like for everything in life, but yeah, especially for like moving into like an authority position or something, a leadership position. Don't be afraid to be a beginner or not know something, right? Health and wellness, we have Medicine Garden, be open to healing information. What a good one to get under health and wellness. So basically it's saying, and we've gotten this before, this is saying like be open to information. Going off of curiosity, it's kind of like an interesting dichotomy, because on one hand, there's always people that you meet. This doesn't like, it doesn't matter what kind of journey you're going on, like whether you're on a spiritual awakening journey, whether you're on a mental health journey, whether you're on a physical wellness journey, there's always like somebody that you meet along the way that thinks that they know what they're talking about, right? If there's anybody out there watching that it's in the chronic illness world, where people come up to you and say, have you tried yoga? And it's like, yeah, like, of course, yoga. Why haven't I thought of that before? It's kind of like, these people are like suggesting stuff and they don't know anything about the illness that you have, and it like doesn't make like you appreciate like at the same time like people are trying to help you, but also like they don't really know what they're talking about kind of deal. It's just kind of like, yeah, I wish yoga could cure my nervous system dysregulation like that, overnight, and it doesn't. Even though in this particular situation, I feel like it would, but maybe that was like a wrong, yoga doesn't cure heart disease or something, like overnight or whatever. So anyway, this is kind of like the opposite, right? Because I've been in the scenario that I just talked about a lot in the last few years. And you have to understand, for me, if you're in this spot, you have to understand that you have compassion for people that want to help and all that stuff. That's wonderful. This particular one is basically saying like, it is important that you do listen to what other people are saying. Like, for every 5 people that are like I just said, there might be one person that says something that actually does help you. And that has also happened to me. Okay, somebody suggested something and I tried it and it did work. Okay, so this is basically saying like, be more on the open. And by the way, the first scenario I'm talking about doesn't mean you're closed-minded. It's just like sometimes, especially with this energy of like with the Lord, I'm talking about like all the wisdom that you do have. Like there are things that you do know and that you're an expert at that other people aren't. You know what I'm saying? So like that's okay. But this is basically saying like also it's okay to be open to additional healing information, especially information that could help you. And the fact that it is here tells me that there is something that maybe that could help you. I hope that whole scenario makes sense and what I just said makes sense. But yeah, just be open to it. Kindly, thank people for their contributions or suggestions or whatever, if it doesn't resonate, or if it doesn't make sense, or if you've tried it before or whatever. But I do feel like this is coming up for a reason. So, just, listen and see what people have to say. That's all I have to say with that. All right, overall outcome, observer. Okay, so this is about... This is about like observing something, not necessarily getting your hands dirty, not necessarily doing it, which is interesting because the only like really do it now, urgency, take action type energy that I actually have is from the Lord, and it's under the action needed slot, so that makes sense. It's basically saying like even though Spirit is asking you to take action on that, overall outcome for this week might be more so observing things, which makes sense, ties it back to the orphan child in the shadow card that we got when we first pulled in the very beginning. Because to me, like I said, it was coming off like more awareness, like being aware of the things that we're doing out of loneliness, out of depression, out of abandonment, all of those things, like where we feel alone or abandoned or depressed and that kind of thing. So I really do think it would, for the majority has something to do with that. Like more finding awareness, right? Because a lot of this stuff is about awareness. The saboteur is also about awareness. Okay, it's basically saying like, look at your shadows, be aware of the things that you're, how you're self-sabotaging, how you're destructing your own life, self-destructing, that kind of thing. Awareness is also about staying present and that kind of thing. So it definitely makes sense where it's kind of like, all right, this week is more so of like I almost want to say like downloading information. Like it's not necessarily that, like you might get an overflow of information this week, or you might, get more of like consciousness shifts, or more shadows are brought to light, like that kind of thing. Like it feels like more like you're observing like what's going on rather than actually getting anything done, if that makes sense. And I hope it does, but okay, questions down below if that doesn't. But yeah, so it's definitely more of like a light bulb moment kind of week. And that's okay. This doesn't have to be like it's just another week in November. It doesn't have to be like an exciting time or like some exciting change, or even though we have some change going on here, but it may feel like maybe a little bit more of a boring or slow week, with the exception of the Lord with moving into a leadership position or role. But it definitely, there's more, maybe the word I'm looking for is like more reflection and introspection going on, and I've used those words before. So yeah, there just might be a lot of like light bulb moments this week. That's it. Cool. All right, guys. I think that's it. All right. I'll see you in the next one. Have a wonderful week. Bye.